draft day. It is the day one, round one of the NFL draft, and thank God that the NFL draft is here. Ladies and gentlemen, there's been no one more excited to see the NFL draft get here than your boy. Mostly because I'm just tired of people out here guessing, just throwing random, wild, not even remotely backed up by facts things up against the wall. And because we're all just hungry to know the truth, because we're all just so hungry to see what's next for our teams, because we're all just hungry to create new content, right? Because like, what are we talking? If you're a football writer, if you write for a football publication, especially a local football publication, right? Like if you're writing for a Cleveland Browns publication, if you're writing for a Houston Texans publication, if you're writing for a Giants publication, like I do, like what are you talking about? Are you really doing another workup on the free agent that they signed that you're not even sure is going to make it to like training camp, let alone the team? Are you doing another mock draft? Are you doing another think piece on what they should do at the pick that they have? Like all of this is just conjecture. All of this is just posturing. We don't know a thing. The only thing we most likely know for certain is that the Bears are taking Caleb Williams. After that, we've got no clue. We've got no clue. I've heard people talking about JJ McCarthy being the best quarterback in this draft class. Can someone please explain to me how it is that JJ McCarthy, after going through a season undefeated, playing in a national championship game, his team being on national television almost every single week, playing in the central time zone for the most part, which is some people believe is the best time zone for sports viewing because it's not too late for people on the East Coast. It's not too early for people on the West Coast. Like some people believe it's the perfect time. There's no doubt that everyone across the country that covers football and football evaluations and the draft, that they saw this man play. And not one person, if I'm lying, please tag me on Twitter or on Instagram or on YouTube or on Facebook at Gene Clemens or at Coach Gene Clemens. Please tag me where people during the actual college football season was saying that JJ McCarthy was the best quarterback in this draft. Not nowhere. I'm sorry, Thor. I love your content. I love you on Twitter, man. I respect you. But nobody was saying that throughout the season. Nobody was out here banging the table for JJ McCarthy. Not a one of us. Then he went out and did nothing of note in the offseason, in the senior circuit season. He didn't do anything remarkable. Not a remarkable combine performance. I don't even remember him in a postseason bowl game. Not a remarkable pro day. Like nothing where it just blew people's socks off. And yet somehow this man just continued to move up and up and up and up the draft ladder. With nothing. People started saying, oh man, I went back and watched the film and JJ McCarthy's much better than I thought. How can I say this delicately? You don't have to go back and watch the film to know that the great ones are great. I'm not saying you don't go back and watch the film. I'm saying you're going back to watch the film for admiration. You're not going back to watch the film to figure out whether or not a great is great. Hey, you want to know where because this is where the Tom Brady thing gets annoying. You want to know what I understood about Tom Brady from college that apparently nobody else understood except Tom Brady? That he is motivated by people telling him there's someone else better than him. How do I know? Because almost every single year that Tom Brady was the starter at Michigan, somebody was trying to take his job. They were actively trying to out-recruit Tom Brady every single year he was at Michigan. They actively tried to replace him with bigger, faster, stronger armed quarterbacks, and they couldn't do it. You know why? Because when it was time to win, when it was time to get the job done, they knew who they had to go back to. I understood that from the moment he was in college. Like, yo, why do they keep trying to bench this dude or put some other cat in for him? Why? He clearly keeps winning. He clearly keeps giving him the best opportunity to win. Why would you just not leave him alone? I understood that. I'm not telling you that I understood he was going to be Tom Brady. I'm telling you I understood why he could be successful in the league because he clearly did not responded extremely well to when adversity hit and people were trying to take his job. That seemed pretty simple for me to notice. I can't quite understand why other people didn't. I look at that draft and I go, man, it wasn't a lot of like, oh my God, he's really good quarterbacks in there. But you know what's in this draft? A bunch of guys whom, if you lined them up, right? If you lined them up and you put all of the measurables on the table, how far down would you go before you got to JJ McCarthy? If you lined up all the quarterbacks in the draft and just gave them the eye test, right? Just the eye, just stand there. Who looks the part, right? How far down the line do you go before you get to JJ McCarthy? I say 9, 8, 9. I say 8, 9. If we're just having everyone stand there, right? If you ask them then to all throw the ball, who throws the ball the best? Who has the biggest arm? Who has the biggest arm? I'm probably going to go 8 or 9 people ahead. Who's the most athletic? This is a good one because all of a sudden JJ McCarthy is an athlete, right? Because there's a clip of him running down after Blake Corum, whom everyone has already said is not that athletic, but they got him running down Blake Corum and not touching the sole, even though there's 2 soles there to be touched. So now he's an athlete. But if I lined up all the athletes, right, and everything that comes with being an athlete, how many quarterbacks am I taking before JJ McCarthy? 8, 9, maybe 10. That's where he's going to get slotted at. You see what I'm saying? I can keep going, right? Running ability, not just athletes, but the ability to run with the ball. How many escapability? How many people am I taking before I take JJ McCarthy? 6, 7. Winners. Aha. Aha. If I'm taking guys who just their teams just seem to win games, now I've got to take JJ McCarthy higher in that perspective. But wait, when I change that and go the quarterback most that their teams depend on to win the most, now I got to drop him back down. Now I got to drop him back down. Now he can't be at the same level again. Because we know how Michigan was built. We know what they were constructed on. This isn't a diss against JJ McCarthy. This is just what it is. His wins come with quite a bit of asterisk because he didn't have to do a lot to win all those games. Name a game that LSU won this year that Jaden Daniels didn't have to be the best player on the field. Name a game that USC won this year where Caleb Williams didn't have to be the best player on the field. Name the game that Washington won, right? Name the game that Washington won where Michael Penix Jr. wasn't making spectacular plays within the game. Maybe he didn't have to be the reason, but he was always one of the reasons. You can say the same thing about Bo Nix. You can say the same thing about Shedeur Sanders, even though he's not in this draft. Michael Pratt. How many quarterbacks do we get through before we get to JJ McCarthy when it comes to relevance to the win? Now, a lot of y'all are hearing this, and you're probably thinking to yourself, yo, he's bagging on JJ McCarthy. I am not. None of this is his fault. He didn't ask for you guys to all of a sudden catapult him from a day 2 draft pick, from a guy that's going in day 2 or should go in day 2 to all of a sudden a top 5 pick. He didn't ask for it. It's bad enough that you have Drake May there. And while I don't think there's any real legitimate reason why Drake May should be a first-round draft pick, I didn't think there was any legitimate reason why Josh Allen should be. And he was. And like we spoke about with Stone Labanowitz on Wednesday, there was no real reason other than the measurables of height, weight, athleticism, arm strength, why Anthony Richardson should have been a first-round draft pick. In case none of you don't understand what my philosophy is on quarterbacks, I don't take quarterbacks in the first round unless you are generational, unless you are a one of one. Guess what? I thought Lamar Jackson was a one of one. He would have been my number 1 draft pick. Don't believe me? Go back and look. He was QB1 for me forever. Everybody that I rock with, everybody that I know, we all had Patrick Mahomes as the top quarterback, along with Deshaun Watson in that draft. Every single guy that I rock with, that I believe in, who knows this draft evaluation stuff, it was not a surprise that Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes to us. So I'm not taking your run-of-the-mill good quarterback in the first round, not when there are tackles and guards and defensive backs and wide receivers and running backs and linebackers that are phenomenal, that can make you better right now, because not all of these quarterbacks are going to do it. I could argue there may not be any of them in this draft that makes a team instantly better that's not already good. Hey, guess what? Every single quarterback prospect, every single one of them that is thought about in the first second, or third round of this year's draft can go to Chicago and have success. You know why? Because Chicago has set themselves up so that the quarterback that's coming in is inheriting weapons, which means that they don't have to do everything. They just have to be a distributor. That is not what Justin Fields inherited when he went to Chicago. He inherited front office instability, head coach instability, lack of weapons on the outside, lack of offensive line to block, a defense that was spotty. Oh, and then the team traded away all of their good defenders. Whomever takes over at Chicago, please, people, do not compare their stats and what they did in their rookie year to what Justin Fields did in Chicago. It's unfair and it's lazy. So when I look at this landscape where J.J. McCarthy goes from, in my mind, a third-round pick to all of a sudden a top 5 pick, you know what I say? This is why people suck at drafting. This is why there's so many really good players that drop down to teams without premium picks. And we're going to see it again tonight. We're going to see a run on quarterbacks where we take 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 quarterbacks in the first round, when really and truly there probably should only be 2, maybe 3. And they're not the ones that you probably think. The time for my opinion on who should go where is over. We are at the draft. But watch as somebody that people thought was a surefire, can't miss, guaranteed first-round pick drops to the second round, drops to day 2. Why? Because if you take 5 quarterbacks, if you take 6 quarterbacks in the first round, then one of those 10 offensive tackles, whom I believe can walk into the NFL and start tomorrow, one of those 10, 2 of those 10, 3 of those 10 are probably going to drop to the second round. You know those defensive tackles who are really, really good and really strong and can step on the field and play day one, they're plug-and-play players. Guess what? They're not going to all go in the first round. Why? Because you took 5 quarterbacks, because you took 6 quarterbacks, and there's only 32 spots. This ain't brain surgery, ladies and gentlemen. The big board and the way that works is not predicated on who's the best. It's predicated on need and whom those individual teams value more. That's why we see so many offensive centers and guards go in the second and third and fourth rounds and fifth rounds that end up being starters. Just go and look on anybody's team. Look at how many players on their offensive line were not taken in the first round. Or they're a first round draft pick, but now they're on their 3rd team. They're on their 4th team. And people just want the Giants to throw Evan Neal away. With all of the times that we've seen offensive linemen be bad at the beginning of their career, figure it out, and go on to have another 10 years of great production, and you want them to throw him out after 2 years that were filled with injuries and inconsistencies all over the place? Are you smoking crack? It's bad enough that you guys are out here dismissing quarterbacks after 2 years. Quarterbacks that should have never even been on the field to start with. I could argue with you all day that Zach Wilson got set up to fail. Why? Because he should have never been a top tier pick. He should have been a 2nd, 3rd round pick so he could sit his butt down on the bench learn how to play some football, take the athletic ability and the arm strength that he has, because he does have it, mature, learn the game, and at 25, 26, go out there and have a great 8 to 10 year career as a starter. But that's not what happens. Why? Because everybody tells you that after their rookie contract, you got to pay a quarterback that's going to be your starter market value. What the hell is market value if you're not playing in the market? Market value is different in every single state, in every single city. What I can buy with $100,000 in certain places in this country far exceeds what I can buy with $100,000 in other places. It's not even close. My money stretches so much further in X than it does in Y. So if that's the case in business, then why is that not the case for quarterbacks? Right? Hey, if I'm a team where my game is predicated on the run game and defense, and I don't mean Baltimore, I mean handing the ball off to a running back and defense, then why do I need to pay my quarterback $40 million? New York Giants. Why does he deserve the going rate when he is but a cog in the wheel? He is, or spoke in the wheel, excuse me. He's not the cog. If you're a spoke in the wheel, when you get broken off, another spoke can replace you. But once the cog breaks, the entire wheel ceases to work. That cog now resides in Philadelphia. That cog is never a wide receiver. Never. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, y'all keep talking about how important these elite level wide receiver ones are. Who won the Super Bowl last year? No elite level wide receiver one. And don't give me the, oh, well, Travis Kelce is their elite level wide receiver one. He wasn't all season. It was one of his worst seasons. One of his worst seasons since he became him was last year. Don't give me they have an elite wide receiver one. No, they have an elite level quarterback and they have an elite level play caller, and their defense was elite. So all of the stuff you tell me about how things need to be done, there's a reason why you pay Patrick Mahomes, because you're asking so much of him. There's a reason why you pay Josh Allen. You're asking so much of him. You don't have to pay Joe Burrow that way. Why? Because the market says, hey, we don't win simply because he's good. We win because he's good and we have all these other weapons. So now we go to him and go, hey, listen, we love you. We want you to be here, but you are a part of a collective elite level quarterback, an elite level wide receivers. And now we put this thing together as a collective. So I'm going to need you to take a little bit less money. But nope. He's a quarterback that got his team to the Super Bowl. And so now we have to pay him like they're paying Patrick Mahomes, like they're paying Josh Allen. And now when you do that, you can't pay all of the elite level wide receivers. And when he gets hurt and the backup comes in and goes ham, everybody can actually start asking those questions of, well, how valuable is that? It's like we're afraid to make these quarterbacks earn what they're supposed to have. It's like we're afraid to make them earn their keep. Lamar Jackson's underpaid. Why? Because he's the quarterback and the running back. That's why. Because he's in the top as a passer and as a rusher. That's why. Watching guys like JJ McCarthy run up the board in magical mythical world, which then is going to probably turn into him running up the board for real. Watching a guy like Drake May continue to rest off his potential, even though people have been screaming potential for 2 years, and it does not cross over into wins, high leverage wins, all the while telling us that other quarterbacks need to continue to show you more. Jaden Daniels was never good until this past year. Did you not watch him with nothing over there at Arizona State? Michael Penix is injury prone, yet he was able to stay healthy for 2 straight years playing high leverage games. We're tripping out here. We're tripping. But that's what we do because we've got nothing else to talk about. It's draft season. Hey, stay tuned after the break. We're going to get into talking about a little bit of GM stuff as we get you ready for the NFL draft tonight. It's Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Networks.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to, oh, goodness gracious, I can't talk apparently. Welcome back to Talk Spicy, a Riptide Media Network. 102.9, the game app. Make sure you download that iPhone or the iStore, the Google Play Store, wherever you get your apps from. If you want to follow me and follow Bleacher Brothers, which comes on right after me at 6 o'clock. I'll actually be joining Rob LaStella later on tonight, I believe around 9:15, 9:30. I'll be on with him talking a little bit of draft. By that time, we should know what the Giants have done. So make sure that you are following all of my Giants content on Giants Country. I wanted to get into some talk about general managers and more about the game that is talent evaluation and draft evaluation. So I want to tell you two things. The first is there's a difference between talent evaluation and draft evaluation, right? Like, I do believe, because I was having this conversation with somebody on X or Twitter that I respect, and I was talking about this graphic that dropped of Daniel Jeremiah's or of the thing for Daniel Jeremiah. And one of the things from Daniel Jeremiah was that what was it? I'm trying to think of the graphic now, but essentially the graphic spoke to Jeremiah's accuracy in his top 150, right? They said that he was like 80-something% of his top 150 ended up being drafted in the top 150 picks, right? So I was a little bit miffed, right? I was a little bit perplexed because I was trying to figure out why this was a feat. I was trying to understand why it is that we should be impressed by Daniel Jeremiah having 80% of his top 150 be picked in the top 150 picks. Right? Like at first blush, it seems like clear. Oh, wow. Well, because if he's ranking these as the top 150 picks, clearly the industry agrees with him, right? Except Daniel Jeremiah was in the industry. Daniel Jeremiah works for the NFL Network. And then Daniel Jeremiah talks to and gets information from the people on the inside. He has admitted so. He talks about the fact of how hard it is to trust your own evaluation when you're hearing opposing evaluations from inside the offices. And so that leads me to believe that a lot of what Daniel Jeremiah believes is based off of what he hears and not necessarily what he sees. This isn't a diss on Daniel Jeremiah, because Daniel Jeremiah is really more of a draft evaluator, a draft analyst, not a player evaluator or a player analyst. Daniel Jeremiah is getting 80+% of his 150 in the top 150 because he has talked to the GMs and the people on the inside, and they're saying, yo, no, we're going to take this person in the top. So of course he's getting it right. Like that shouldn't be that difficult. You want to know what's funny? They called out Jeremiah. It's people who are not on the same platform as Daniel Jeremiah is. There's people who may not have the same level of gravitas that Daniel Jeremiah has because he works for the NFL Network and at one time was inside the walls, and they're getting 80+% because they're doing the same thing he's doing. They're evaluating the draft and not necessarily the players. Now, a guy like my boy Emory Hunt, he evaluates players. That's why his 2024 draft guide has a bunch of players in positions that others don't. And the reason he has them in positions where others don't is because he's drafting based off of what the potential of the player could be if given the opportunity to perform at the same level as everybody else. Right? He's saying, hey, player A, who you don't have as high as player B, would outperform player B if given the opportunities that player B has had. He's not out here evaluating 150 players. He's out here evaluating over 1,000, and he's putting it out there for you to see in a draft guide. Make sure you go and pick it up, right? Football Game Plan Draft Guide, 2024 Draft Guide, available on footballgameplan.com/2024 Draft Guide. Make sure you go and check that out, right? Like, I evaluate players as it pertains to the players fitting in the systems that they're playing in. I just don't call myself Coach Clemens for no reason. I coach. And so when I look at talent, how it fits within the scheme of the team that the talent is going to. So when I was looking at the top picks, the top quarterback picks in this year's draft, I immediately eliminated Caleb Williams and Drake May as fits for the Giants. You want to know why? Because we've seen that story before. They need guys who can, A, confidently throw the ball deep. There are two guys in this draft who throw legitimate, competent deep balls. Like, they throw them and they're completed not because guys are going up and jumping over people, but because the placement, because the timing on when they're willing to let it go. Right? That's Michael Penix Jr. and that's Jaden Daniels. Who has the most success in the Giants offense is Tyrod Taylor. Why? Because he's willing to pull the trigger on the deep ball before the player is open. He knows, he trusts, he puts the ball out there ahead, and he allows that player to go get it. Right? So that's something he's able to do. And so they need a guy like that. They don't need a guy like Daniel Jones. That's why your Drake Mays and your J.J. McCarthy's, they don't work. And they don't need guys out there improvising. That's why your Caleb Williams doesn't work. Not for that offense. That's how I evaluate talent. How does it fit within the scheme? How does it fit within what they're trying to get done? Now, if they're planning on doing a scheme flip, if they're planning on doing a scheme change, then okay, talk to me. It might not be Jaden Daniels. It might be Drake May. It might be JJ McCarthy. But all of that matters. And so how I have players ranked is going to be different than how Emory has players ranked, which is different than how Jeremiah has players ranked, because one person in Jeremiah is ranking the draft. They want to be right? They want to get who goes first, second, third, fourth, and fifth right. Emory doesn't care who goes first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. He wants to get his player evaluations right. I don't care who goes first, second, third, fourth, and fifth unless I believe the person that's going first, second, third, fourth, and fifth is the best fit. There are different ways to look at this thing. So what are we applauding? Are we applauding someone who accurately predicts which team is going to take who, even if the who that they take is a bust? Even if the who that they take is somebody that doesn't live up to the draft pick? Or are we celebrating the player who becomes really, really good that we said was going to be really, really good? I believe the latter. I don't believe Daniel Jeremiah believes the latter. I believe Daniel Jeremiah is happy with the former. He wants to know he's in tune with people that he used to call colleague. It was said that I was dissing, that this was me dissing Daniel Jeremiah. I was told that I was dying on it was a silly hill to die on. I didn't think I was trying to die. I just thought I was giving an opinion. Apparently I was dying on a hill. Who knew? So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with draft evaluation, player evaluation, and which one is more important to you. Out there, if you're listening, and we know there's some people listening, right? I have boards in front of me that tell me that there are eyeballs. Maybe they're not listening. Maybe they're just watching. I want you to think to yourself, right? I want you to think this aloud. Would you rather be right with the predictions of who goes where? Would you rather be right in predicting who will be good? Or would you rather see the positional fits that you believe go where you think they could have the most success? I guess in a perfect world, you'd love to be able to do all three, right? In a perfect world, because Daniel Jeremiah is a draft analyst, right? Because a lot of these people are draft analysts. All they do is the draft all year long. Why don't you give us your big board, but then also give us what you believe the front offices will do? Give us what you believe the front offices would do versus what you believe what you would do. I feel like that would be much more desirable. I believe that would be a much better content. Hey, here's what the front office is going to do. Here is what I would do. In fact, in the last block, in the fourth quarter, I'll be back and I'm going to tell you what the Giants are most likely to do. And then I'm going to tell you what I would do on day one of this draft. I mean, because why be a hypocrite, right? Like if they can do it, I mean, if I'm telling them to do it, then I should be the person to model, right? I should be the person to model. I can tell you, I don't care about being right when it comes to who they pick. I care about being right when it comes to how I evaluate the talent. Now, I am not ready to give up on a guy like Lorenzo Neal. I mean, not Lorenzo Neal, but Evan Neal. I'm not ready to give up on an Evan Neal. I would have probably never put him at right tackle. I probably would have from day one moved him to left guard. But then people would say, what if he's playing guard? Then you took a guard with the top 5 pick. Hey, hasn't stopped ending. You think the Colts feel bad about taking Nelson? I don't care what the positional value thing says if you get an absolute baller, and I believe at left guard he could be an absolute baller, but since he's at right tackle, I'm not ready to give up on him yet. I believe there's still upside, that there's still the opportunity for him to be every bit as good as people believe he should be. I also believe that if the Giants had taken Cross at tackle instead of Neal, then their pass blocking would be a lot better right now. I just do. I believed in his pass blocking more than I believed in Neal. It's right. It's all over the film. Just watch. It's all over the film. All of the stuff that we see right now from Evan Neal, we saw it all in college at every position. You know what we also saw? Dominance in the run blocking. We saw dominance in the run blocking. Let that dog hunt. Let that dog hunt. Why you want to keep them boys all caged up in the chain? Don't put him in the fence. Let him come down here with his brethren and get the opportunity, right? Like, let him go out there and just be a dog. I know that's a really bad accent. I be working on my accents, though. I'm going to get better at it. It's not to make fun of anyone, I promise you. You know, it's a funny thing about accents. Whenever you make an accent of a people, the first thing people believe is that you're doing it to like make fun of them. In reality, sometimes it's just like it's for flattery. Yo, I wish I could say it like this. I can't. I wish I could say it like this. This has the emphasis that I want. And so now I'm going to copy it because I want that emphasis. That's what we get in draft coverage, right? Somebody says something and they say it in a way that you're like, ooh, I really like how they said that. I want to say it that way. It's flattering, right? The imitation is supposed to be flattering. What we take it as, somebody hating, somebody trying to steal, somebody unoriginal. Well, yeah, of course they're unoriginal. But the truth is there's not really anything original. Everything has been taken from something else. Everything has been taken. You grab it, you look at it, you move it around, right? You fiddle with it, you change it into something that it wasn't before. You change it into something brand new. Like, that's what you do. Hey, listen, how did we get all of the colors that we had? It started with one color and people kept playing. They kept mixing stuff and went, ooh, I like that. New color. Ooh, I like that. New color. Somebody was out there, they saw the blue and they said, by mistake. They just ran a little yellow across the blue and they saw this new color and they were like, ooh, that's a great color. I'm going to use that color. Now, if other people come along and use that color, are they stealing? Are they jacking the swag? Because if that's the case, then man, we're all swagger jackers. There's nothing new under the sun, ladies and gentlemen. We only got this one world. Everything has been stolen. Everything has been borrowed. Everything has been transformed. There's no brand new like draft evaluation. There's no new ways to look at this thing. The same talents that you needed to be a successful quarterback are the talents you need today. Hey, newsflash, the more mobile quarterbacks, they always had an advantage in football. This is not something new. The difference is that now the coaches, they've leaned into using the athleticism. But it's always been a thing. It's always been a thing. Now the quarterbacks are being used. Their athleticism is being utilized. All of their talents are being utilized, not just some of the talents. How stupid was it that at one point in time, somebody thought Warren Moon should be playing on the perimeter? So this man had to go to Canada and destroy Canada in order to get a chance to play quarterback. How stupid is that? Only, by the way, only to get to the NFL and play quarterback and them not even use his athleticism. How crazy is it that you think about Randall Cunningham running all over the place at quarterback, only to then get low, disappear for several years, come back with the Vikings, still have that athleticism, but now all of a sudden remind people of this cannon arm that he has. How crazy is it that Michael Vick was out here playing just off pure athleticism, goes to jail for a few years, loses the prime of his career, comes back, sits the bench 1 year, they turn the reins over to him the next year, and he goes bananas. But there's no buy-in to sustainability, and so everything falls apart from there. How crazy is it that a guy like Tyrod Taylor, at every chance where he's had to be the starting quarterback, something has happened to him, except that one time in Buffalo where he was able to be the starting quarterback and he just kept on taking them to the playoffs. He kept on doing what Kirk Cousins did, except nobody looked to replace Kirk Cousins with a tall, athletic, inaccurate, bad decision-making, good-looking white quarterback. Like, the evaluations of the game has never changed. The things that were good in yesteryear are good now. And so when we're looking for offensive linemen, what's new about what we're looking for? When we're looking for running backs, what new quality does a running back have to have? They always had to be able to catch. People are acting like Marshall Faulk just came along 5 years ago. No, Marshall Faulk is in the Hall of Fame. And before him, Roger Craig, Eric Dickerson, fullbacks. The fullback used to have to be able to catch. Then they got rid of the fullback only to kind of sort of just bring the fullback back, but call him an H-back or call him a tight end. when in reality, they ain't nothing but a fullback. It's always interesting to me how we're willing to flip the narrative and change it to whatever we want it to be. But nothing changes about football evaluation. There's two things going on. Either you are trying to evaluate the game, or excuse me, you're trying to evaluate the draft, or you're trying to evaluate the players. And for me, I love evaluating these players. Stay tuned when we get back. We're going to talk a little basketball in the third quarter before we finish out in the fourth quarter with a look at what I believe the Giants need to do in the draft and what they will probably do. I'll clean that up when we get back. It's Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Networks.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, Riptide Media Networks. A little behind the scenes, something happened with my camera, and I thought I was going to be talking to you without any video for a second there, but I was able to make it happen in the commercial break, and thank goodness for commercial breaks, right? That's what they're there for, and it came in handy. It came in handy, I'll tell you that much. Does anybody remember Rocky 2? There was something really poetic about Rocky 2. Something real something romantic about Rocky 2. In Rocky 2, for those who don't remember, in Rocky 2, Apollo is talking to his trainer, and Duke tells him, "Hey, he's all wrong for us, baby." Right? He says, "He's all wrong for us, baby. I seen you hit that man with everything you can possibly hit a man with, and he just kept coming." Right? Like, just the idea that on that premise alone, like, I watched you punch this man repeatedly in the face, bludgeon him to a pulp, And he just kept coming. Duke said, hey, yo, he's all wrong for us, baby. Apollo didn't listen. Apollo didn't listen. And eventually, Rocky got him. Now, I would imagine that after that happened, that Duke had an "I told you so" with Apollo, right? Like this is after the movie's over with. I like to watch movies and then I like to project what happened after. So in between Rocky 2 and Rocky 3, right? In between Rocky 2 and Rocky 3, where apparently Apollo had to retire because he got beat by Rocky, when in reality, Apollo would have probably just beat everybody else, but Rocky was the one that had his number. I'm going somewhere with this, right? I promise you I'm going somewhere with this. Duke probably said, hey, I told you he wasn't right for us. The next time I tell you, you just got to listen. Or we got to do something completely different than what we did last time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. I don't know what it is about the Miami Heat, but they are just all wrong for the Celtics. That, my friends, is the Los Angeles Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets are just all wrong for the Lakers. Like, it doesn't matter how you slice it, right? Doesn't matter what you want to call it, what you want to say about it. The truth is that they're just all wrong. All wrong. I've watched the Boston Celtics punch these Miami Heat in the face over and over and over and over again, and the Miami Heat just keep coming. They just keep doing whatever they have to do, however they have to do it to get the win, and Boston keeps trying to do the same thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what it does is it makes a much harder series than what the Boston Celtics should have to deal with on a 1-8 matchup. So now what should be a sweep means that they have to play more games. And I thought it was hilarious, people making fun of the Miami players that went out on their off day to a Boston club. Like, Miami players are worried about clubs. Like, Miami players don't know how to navigate going to the club and showing up for a game. If there's any team that knows how to go out, have fun, and still show up to work, it's Miami Heat. That's the Heat culture. The Heat culture doesn't say, don't go have fun. Heat culture says, have fun, but you know what you got to do tomorrow. I watched as the Lakers delivered blow after blow after blow. Pause. Haymaker after haymaker. And the Denver Nuggets just keep coming. I believe, I have nothing to back this up, if it wasn't for the Denver Nuggets, the Lakers win. The Lakers win the championship last year. If they didn't have to deal with the Nuggets, if they had found a way to get past the Nuggets, right? Because they lost 4-0, but there were a few of those games that they had a chance to win. And this year, They're down 2-0. But 2 of those games they should have won. They should have won game 1. They should have won game 2. But it was just all wrong for them, baby. That's it. They're just all wrong for them. So what do? You can't keep going in there with the same game plan and wondering why it doesn't work. The Lakers cannot go into this game thinking, oh, we'll get out to the lead, but this time we'll just hold it. Clearly, that's not the case. They had a double-digit lead in game 1. Denver ran it down. They had a 20-point lead in game 2. Denver ran it down. What does that mean? It means you are not equipped to keep that team from running you down, doing the same thing you've been doing. What are you going to change? And this is where it comes into the coaches. It is incumbent upon Joe Mazzulla and Darvin Ham to do something different than what they've done when they have acquired the lead, or when they have struggled, or when things are not going well. It is incumbent upon Mazzulla and Darvin Ham and their coaching staffs to start zigging where others are zagging. To start doing something different that yields a different result. Because if they continue to go out there with the same BS that they had the first time, they're going to lose. Well, let me rephrase this. The Lakers are going to lose, right? The Lakers are going to lose. And while he's losing, while the Lakers are losing, the Celtics are going to have a much more difficult round 1 of the playoffs than they should have. I don't know if the Heat have enough to beat them 4 games out of 7. Right? I don't know if they have enough to beat them 4 games out of 7, but they definitely got enough to make it ugly, to make them have to work for this, unless Boston decides to do some different stuff. Phoenix, you're going to need to do some different things. You can't have KD playing 40 minutes and Bradley Beal playing 40 minutes and Devin Booker playing 40 minutes and not maximize their ability to score the ball. If you can't stop the bigs of Minnesota from getting on the boards, you're going to just continue to give up second chance shots over and over and over again. You're going to lose. What are you going to do different? KD is not a power forward. KD is not a center. So unless you are going to run and gun when he's at a power forward or a center, maybe it's time to do some different stuff. Hey, yo, Joel Embiid, you're not a point guard. You are a center. Why is the coach not telling you to get your ass on the block and be big? You're bigger than anything on the court. You're just as athletic as everything on the court. Why are you out there shooting threes? Get your butt on the block. Why are you getting out-rebounded? How can you have 9 rebounds in the first quarter and end the game with 10 or 11 rebounds? Hey, I was never Joel Embiid. I was never as good as Joel Embiid in basketball. But I broke things down in the quarters. And I really and truly believed that I could duplicate whatever production I did in a quarter in every quarter. So I looked at rebounding as a simple mathematical equation. 3 times 4. I'm going to average 12 rebounds a game because I'm going to get 3 each quarter. And I went hunting. On defense, it was a math game. They might be able to get by me once. But if we do this 10 times, 9 of the 10 times I'm winning. That's going to be 9 bad shots or 9 shots that they didn't take or 9 times where they had to do something different. I'm winning. I remember I was probably 17 years old, and one of the coaches at the Parks and Recreation was talking noise about how good he was or wasn't and blah, 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 and how he was better than us. And so then he said he'd play me 1-on-1. I wasn't talking. This is my brother talking. He said he'd play me 1-on-1 in basketball. So I go, okay, what we playing for? You put some money on the board. No, we were playing. Right? We were playing. And as we were playing, he hit a couple shots. 1-on-1. He getting more and more cocky, more and more arrogant. My brother go, you so good, put some money on the line. He put some money on the line. And I backed his ass down in the paint and scored over him 5 times straight. Bucket, 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 bucket. We out of here. Why? Because when the money on the line, it don't matter how you score these buckets. When the money's on the line, ain't no cute. The money's cute. When the money's on the line, ain't no style points. The money's the style points. And I'll be damned if it ain't money time in the NBA. I don't care how you get it done, Lakers, you need a win. I don't care how you get it done, Phoenix, you need a win. Hey, Milwaukee, it's cute. We out here, Dame getting all these points. Don't mess around and go down 2-1 to this team and give them confidence. Don't try to wait for Giannis to come back. You better get it done now. It ain't time to be cute. It is by any means necessary time in the NBA. As they say, it's nut cutting time. If I'm being honest, I don't really know what that means. I mean, I'm a smart guy, so I kind of know what it means, right? But I don't exactly know what it means. But now that I've said it out loud on a national platform, I'm going to make sure I Google it so that I know exactly what it refers to. I'll get back to you in the fourth quarter on that. But it's time. Like, there's no more, hey, I'm trying to win awards. I'm trying to, it's money time. Philly, go down 3-0 to the Knicks. Go down 3-0 to the Knicks and watch how ugly it gets in your city. When you have the most dominant force on the court, there's no reason for that force to ever shoot threes. When you have the transformative piece, because they have an ability to do a bunch of different things, then I shouldn't see 1 for 9, from the field. Kristaps Porzingis. If you're going to be the almost $100 million man as a defensive stopper, Drew Holiday, then you can't just be kind of sort of closing out on shots. It's on coaching when the players won't do it themselves. It is on the coach to do it for them. I always say I like when players don't need a battery in their back. But gosh darn it, if I've got to be the battery in their back to make them play hard, then guess what I'm going to do every day? I'm charging their ass up. Absolutely. I'm flipping the switch. I would be at practice as a player. This is football and basketball. I'd be at practice as a player, and I would see that the energy level at practice was down, and I would instantly just turn up. I start talking noise, right? I start playing a little bit harder on defense, because that's always what gets it on basketball. Just start playing a little bit harder on defense, a little bit of extra on a foul. Things changed. As a player, as a coach, when I first started coaching, I remember specifically my first year had a defensive back. His name was Dominique Davis. I coached the running backs and the tight ends. He was a defensive back, but he's from Florida, so he already know what time it is. When we were having a bad practice, when we were having an unlively practice, I would just look over at him and go, "Hey, turn this up." I wiggle the fingers like it's a stove, right? Turn it up. Like I was cranking up a car. Turn it up. You know what he would do the next play? Loud. And then start selling out. And I just tapped the coach or, hey, coach, don't do nothing. This was my first year ever as a coach. If the 5 million, the 10 million, the 25 million, the 35 million a year, the 50 million a year, Jalen, if that doesn't motivate you, if that doesn't put the battery in your back, no worries. I got one. Would I prefer to not have to do it? Yes. Would I like to keep that energy so that when I go work out after practice, I have something left in the tank? Yes. Would I like to keep that energy so that I might be able to do something, living my life after that? Yes. Am I willing to sacrifice that energy to make sure you give me what I need in order for us to be successful, in order for you to reach the level that I need you to reach in order for us to be successful? You, Darsh, you right. Absolutely. Joe Mazzulla, what you gonna do? Doc Rivers, what you gonna do? They're already blaming you for everything anyway. They all say they don't believe in you anyway. What do you have to lose? Do something different. Switch it up. Change it up. Transform it. Why not? You got nothing to lose. You got everything to gain. You've got nothing to lose, and you've got everything to gain. If not, you're going to see upsets. You're going to see people get fired. You're going to see people get traded. You're going to see people walk away in free agency. Your favorite teams are going to look different if they don't get the job done. Kevin Durant may see the end of his career be one where he spends 2 years at every stop, 2 to 3 years at every stop, and then moves on. Like, think about how wild that is. It's Kevin Durant at OKC for all those years. Then it's 3 years, Golden State, 3 years, Nets, now 2 years, Dallas. What if you add another team on there? Huh? What if 2 more teams, 3 more teams? Because as he ages, he's not aging the way LeBron is aging, right? He doesn't have a secondary game to go to. His game is his game. He's not all of a sudden going to bulk up and become like a power forward for real. A guy who just plays with his back to the basket for real, an enforcer. He is who he is. And while his game's not going to fall off dramatically, when you start slowing down and you're a long athlete, it becomes a lot easier to guard you. And yes, you can still shoot over me, but there's going to be some games where you shoot like you shot the other night. Like, it's crazy to think about this. How different a lot of these teams are going to look next year if they don't get it done right now. Lakers, you are on the clock. Lakers, you are on the clock. As a Lakers fan, what you are out here doing is unacceptable. How dare you tease us with great first half performances only to then look like frauds in the second half? How dare you put on fantastic performances all the way into the fourth quarter only to then piss down your leg in the fourth quarter? You're on the clock. What you going to do? How are you going to do it? What's going to look different? What's going to make us go, oh, this isn't the same as the last one? This isn't what they did the last time. How are you going to do that? And when you can answer that question, you'll be able to do that answer. It's not like you're going to answer the question and not know how to execute it. In order to come up with the answer, you need to know how to execute it. So then that just becomes executing. If you're a fan of the Lakers, my prayers are with you. I am too. If you're a fan of the Celtics, don't panic yet. But I'd be ignorant to say it's just one game. If you're a fan of the Phoenix Suns, you're in trouble. You better step up. If you're the fan of the Philadelphia 76ers, you're in trouble. Your squad better step up. Anybody else that I didn't name? When we come back, I'll be talking about the New York Giants. I'll be talking about what I believe they will do today or this evening as the draft begins. And then I'll tell you what I believe they should do. You want to stay tuned. This is Talk Spicy, Riptide Media Networks.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. Yeah, I know. If you looking at me on there, I forgot to hit the mute button or the unmute button. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. Riptide Media Network. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. We're getting you ready for the NFL draft coming up this afternoon or this evening with the first round. It is a 3-day event. The first night is on Thursday night. I still don't know how I feel about it being on a Thursday night. The second night, Friday night, rounds 2 and 3. The third morning, Saturday morning, rounds 4 through 7. And then the fun begins with all of the undrafted free agents that get picked up from there. So the New York Giants, and I cover the Giants for Giants Country. You'll probably see a lot of my work coming down the pipe because, you know, I break down players and how they fit within schemes. And so this is a beautiful time for me. I also you'll most likely hear me on some podcasts talking Giants. And then obviously as we get into the regular season, you'll hear me talk more Giants on Talk Spicy every day from 4 to 6 with one of my quarters because my life will be surrounded by Giants. You'll see a Giants quarter, you'll see an FCS football quarter, you'll see an FBS quarter, and then probably just everything else football under the sun because, that's what happens around this time. The Giants hold the 6th pick, and a lot of people think that they are going quarterback and or wide receiver. Many people believe that they are trying to move up, to move into the top 3 to take a quarterback. Some people believe that they're going to sit at 6 and take whatever comes their way, right? Some people believe they're going to just sit at 6 and take whatever the quarterback that's left or whomever the wide receiver is that's left at that point. A lot of people want it to be Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. if they're taking a wide receiver. I think they just want a quarterback. They don't even care who it is. But I know a lot of people are fans of Drake May. So what I thought would be fun, like I talked about earlier, is I want to explore what I believe the Giants will do just based off everything that I have seen and heard from people who are probably more plugged in than I am, even though I'm pretty plugged. And then I want to tell you what I would do completely against what the team would do or is interested in doing. Just if I was in control of making this work this year, what would I do? So first, the Giants front office and coaching staff are in a weird position where they might not be on the hot seat, but they may. Right? Last year was so ugly coming off a hopeful, overachieving year, right? An overachieving 9-7 season. Had them looking like they were going to be a playoff team this year and possibly better with the additions that were made. So for them to not only did they not make the playoffs, they didn't even come close to making the playoffs. That's a failure. When we start to hear about all of the coaching issues inside the building, that's a failure. When we start to look at how some of these draft picks are panning out so far for the team, that's a failure. Right? So all of these things are things that we have to consider in why this head coach and this GM might be on a hot seat. But then we also have to consider that they've only been on the job for 2 years, and what they took over was something that was not healthy. It was something that wasn't good. It was something that wasn't palatable. Lots of things needed to be done. And just because they overachieved in year 1 doesn't mean that they were guaranteed to overachieve in year 2, because now you have a more difficult schedule. Now you have expectations. Now teams aren't looking at you as a bye week. They're preparing for you better. Oh, and by the way, injuries. Right? Injuries. So now we sit here in a position where, although they might have the leeway of a free year, another year to get it right, they may have to win right now. So how do you try to win right now, but also appease the reset that you believe you need to have? If you just sell out to hey, listen, we're trying to get ready for 2025. Baby, you might not see 2025. If it's so, how do we plan for the future, but also try to win right now? Here's how. We are telling ourselves that last year's terrible play was an anomaly because everybody was hurt. And that Saquon Barkley isn't really that important to this offense. We can make up his production in the aggregate. But if we can keep Daniel Jones healthy, and if the offensive line is improved, then we should be better. So we're going to roll the dice on a quarterback, because if we're not better, we already have our quarterback in place to take over halfway through the season and to lead us into 2025, where we'll be able to continue to add pieces to help that quarterback through the draft. So I believe that they will, at 6, take a quarterback, and that quarterback will either be J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix Jr. I hope that if they do take a quarterback, it's Michael Penix Jr. and not J.J. McCarthy, but I could be wrong. And in fact, I might be wrong. Now, here's what I would do. We are going to try to win, because you need to be trying to win every year in the National Football League. Staying at 6 and taking another receiver when we don't even know if the receivers that we have are elite level receivers based off of the quarterbacking inconsistencies that they've had. I am going to try to maximize that draft pick that everybody will be thirsty to get into once we get closer to that pick. I'm trading out. And I'm trading out for a lower first round pick, a second round pick, and a first round pick next year. This is important. I need to have 2 first round picks next year. And I need to have more draft capital where I can still get top level talent in this draft. I'll move down. And once I move down, I will most likely get a wide receiver. If not one of those ones that I have, I'll get somebody out there. I'll do that in the first round or the second round. With the other pick, I am going to bolster something on the defensive side so that I can then come back in the second round with other picks. That's the game plan. That's what we need to do. And ladies and gentlemen, my apologies if you've seen that the video feed is gone, but we're still here. Audio is still going. We're still popping. So I'm trading down, and I'm trading down to get a second round pick and a first round pick next year. I want to be extremely active on day 2 of this draft because, like I told you guys in the first segment, there's so much talent that's going to drop because people are dying to get their hands on quarterbacks and receivers. It's like fantasy football has become real football. The wide receiver has become the in vogue value. We want to jump up to get the wide receiver. Like that's become a thing. We want to jump up to get the receiver. Right? We want to spend all this value on pass catchers because that's where the game is going. So, hey, cool. Let's do that. You spend your money on the pass catchers. I'm going to collect these picks, and I'm going to get a middle linebacker to go next to Okereke. right? I'm going to get a linebacker to go next to Okereke in the second round. I'm going to get a long, athletic cornerback that I can put on the opposite side of my other young boss that I got. I'm going to go and get a tackle because there are 10, maybe 11 guys who I believe can start at tackle. I'm going to get a defensive tackle because I need someone to be able to play next to Dexter Lawrence in this 4-man front that we're going to have with these 2 edge rushers firing off. I need space eaters. I need headhunters inside. I probably need another safety since I let the last 2 starting safeties on my team walk for nothing. I'm going to fill the coffers with talent. And if my quarterback can't get it done this year, if Daniel Jones can't get it done this year, then guess what? With my 2 picks, I am in position to go and get the most pro-ready quarterback in the last 10 years of the draft, and that's Shedeur Sanders. They won't tell you that because people hate Deion Sanders for some reason. A lot of people got hate in the media industry for Deion Sanders. You can tell by the way they cover him. But Shedeur Sanders is the most pro-ready quarterback. Notice I didn't say the most talented. I didn't say the biggest arm. I didn't say the most athletic. I didn't say it the best feet. I said the most pro-ready quarterback to come out in quite some time. I believe it. Right? I believe it. And I believe it because I have watched him play every single game of his collegiate career like somebody who has been around playing this game forever. I am so impressed by what I see from him. I find it utterly laughable when people say that next year doesn't have any elite level quarterbacks when him and Jalen Milroe, who is the most physically imposing quarterback to come out since Cam Newton. We all know what Cam did. I'm not saying it's going to be Cam, but come on. You hear me talking? Hey, you ain't got a lot of me, ladies and gentlemen. I want the Giants to get back to a Super Bowl as much as any fan wants the Giants to get back to a Super Bowl, because if they're in the Super Bowl, that means more things for me. That means more access for me. That means more content for me. That means more value for me. That means I have the potential to make more money. This ain't brain surgery, ladies and gentlemen. When the team is good and the team is able to win a championship, it's better. It's better for the people who cover them. I'm planning on doing Giants breakdowns, like all 22 full game breakdowns on my Patreon for the Giants this year. Like, that's not going to just get done on its own. If the team is terrible, who wants to watch the all 22? Who wants someone evaluating and breaking down the all 22 of a terrible team? Hey, try saying that 10 times fast. All 22 of the terrible team. But so the better this team is, the better for me. Would I be mad at a Rome Odunze at 6 and a Penix in the second round? No, that's not happening, ladies and gentlemen. You're not getting Michael Penix in the second round. Because by the time the Giants have a chance, because they don't have a lot of draft capital this year, right? By the time they're drafting in the second round, Penix is going to be gone. Either someone's coming to get him in the first round so that they can have that extra fifth year of control, or someone's scooping him up immediately when the second round begins. But if the Giants are able to secure him in the second round, yes, have at it. I wouldn't even be mad if they decide in the third round, hey, let's go after a Spencer Rattler. And on day 3, hey, let's go get a Milton. Why not? I believe all of those things can be true. I believe they can all be true. Why? I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. But if you're asking me what I'm doing, how I'm trying to make this team better right now, but also get prepared for the future, the answer is simple. Trade back, collect more assets, set yourself up for a windfall in 2025, add more talent in 2024 around the quarterback. Make the team as good as it can in 2024. And guess what? If I'm on the hot seat in 2025 and the only thing I got to do is add a quarterback to go with all this talent I put around this, I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances. And if it doesn't work out when the next coach takes over, you know what I'm going to say as I walk out the door? You're welcome. As I walk out the door, I'm going to let them know in no uncertain terms, you are here because of me. You are going to have success because of me, because of what I did and what I put in place. And if I had another year, it would be up. So you better do your thing. Sometimes it's all about timing. Sometimes it's just all about timing. That's what's great about the game. Whatever the Giants do tonight, I'm going to be excited to watch it, right? Like, I don't even care who they take at this point. I'm going to be excited to talk about whomever it is. I'm not going to speak from disappointment. Whomever they take, I am going to be ready to support and by support, I mean, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to tell the truth about what I think about them in my evaluation, but I'm going to show how they can have a road to success. I'm not going to highlight how they can fall. I'm not going to highlight how they can fail. I'm only going to highlight how they can succeed. It's going to be up to them whether or not I continue to talk positively or whether or not I have to start speaking negatively about what they bring to the table. That's going to be all on them. That won't be up to me. I won't make that choice. They will make that choice. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the Bucs are going to do. For those of you who don't know, I am a Buccaneers fan. They have committed, or supposedly they've committed, to Baker Mayfield as their quarterback. Okay. Now what are you going to do to make life easier on Baker Mayfield? To make it so that Baker Mayfield doesn't have to be the star. I am excited to see what happens in Cleveland, where they picked up Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston is coming in there to start for as long as he can. And it won't be a situation like in New Orleans where Dennis Allen was like trying to make this dude a failure. He's going to have the weapons. You know he has the arm. You know he has the charisma. You know he has a way of galvanizing the locker room. And you know he's got a cannon and he's had eye surgery. So he can toss it and he can see where it's going. So if I get the Jameis Winston experience in Cleveland, sign me up for it. I guarantee you he'll be missed in New Orleans. I was never a Saints fan, and I have a couple friends who are really big Saints fans, but they're going to make it really hard for me to root for them. I think I need to see the coaching staff get fired before I could ever root for them to do well. It's that bad for me. How they did Jameis. I didn't like how the Bucs did Jameis, but the Bucs let Jameis go and they were able to bring in Tom Brady. So kind of hard to be mad at them. Although I still feel like there's a world where you bring in Tom Brady, you keep Jameis as your backup for those 2 years, and now he learns underneath the GOAT, and he gets his IBBL, gets out there and lights it up the same way that Baker Mayfield is. Because he's a much better quarterback than Baker Mayfield is. Much bigger arm, better placement, just as good an athlete, tougher. Come on. But that's the game. I'm looking forward to it all. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Harbaughs do. What does Jim Harbaugh do in LA now that he's gotten rid of all of his wide receivers and all he has now is this $250 million quarterback when he really just wants to run the ball and play defense? He's so an quarterback. Where will they go with their picks? John Harbaugh riding the coattails of Lamar Jackson since Lamar took over. He's the reason John Harbaugh still has a job. He was on the hot seat. He gave a job to Lamar. It's been great ever since then, but is this the year? What else do they need? I tell you what they could use. A right tackle. Another guard. The defense is lit, but they lost a few pieces. Might have to add a pass rusher. Might have to add another linebacker. Might have to add another defensive back. I want to see what he does. And this is the part that I love about the draft. All of the stuff that happens before the draft where people are just lying or just saying untruths because they ain't got nothing better to do with their time, y'all can hold that. This is where I want to be at. When people start saying, with the first pick, that's when I get excited. That's when I know football is back. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. Brought to you by Riptide Media Network. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. If you're joining me on Twitter, after this, just go ahead and retweet it. Just hit a retweet so that your homeboys, your mans, your homegirls can see it. And then everybody can look at it later. If you're joining me on Twitch, we appreciate you. And Facebook, we'll be back. Till next time. Peace.